Hey, Tom from Catching Up with the Nerds. Welcome back to another edition of WhatsApp Chat. In this week's episode, we'll discuss Miss Marvel, which dropped recently on Disney+. What did we like? What did we dislike? Let's find out now. Take it away, JC.
I really like the show. So I really like the show a lot. I think it's a shame what's kind of being discussed online and how either it's about the case of the color of skin or cultural beliefs of the lead that tends to dominate the conversation, or the fact that people think it's a kid show. And I think that it is one of the most kind of creative and inventive shows they've had visually. I really love what they're going for with the visuals. Do I think that this is the best plot in any Marvel show? No, I don't think it is. I don't think it actually matters, and I'll come back to that. But I love what they're trying to do with all the visuals of the show. I think the casting is great. I think that the lead for Kamala is someone we will see in other, whether it be movies or shows. She's just like so good and just draws you in and tells a good story and is able to kind of put out all the emotions and stuff. Just really great actress. And so the thing about the show is that I think that there was a moment where I thought that I might be critical of it, because I thought, is this the most authentic Pakistani story we're going to get? And it isn't, is the truth of the matter, right? There are better stories about life as a Pakistani immigrant out there. I'm sure the BBC has tons of them. I'm sure there's on Netflix, Hulu, HBO, so on and so forth, right? But the fact that in a Marvel platform, and let's be honest, Marvel is a platform where more people will see this than the average show about life in Pakistan, then it does mean something how far they're willing to reach into the culture and really show it for what it is. I think they've brought up some really nice little moments that I think are nice. Stuff that even being from a low to middle income country, I could relate to. And there's just like a passing moment when they're getting off the plane and everybody gets up before you're supposed to. That is something that would always happen in Honduras. And both Theo and I looked at each other and went like, we totally know what that is. And it was just nice that they brought those little moments into the show. And so that's what I really appreciate about it. Actually, it's on one of the biggest platforms in the world. It's being bold enough to tell a more authentic story, even though it's not the most authentic story. On top of that, the other part of it that I think is interesting is that I don't feel like we're setting up something big most of the time. I like that this last show, spoiler alert, spent time with almost no superhero stuff. I think that's really cool, actually. I think that's why these shows exist. That's why you have runs on comics that are not crossover events. Not everything is building to a crossover event in the comics, and we're starting to see that in the TV shows, where it's like, yeah, it's a story. At the end, might it tie into something? Possibly we'll get an end credit scene, and of course, it's Marvel. They'll probably want to do something. But do I need that? Not really. Now, here's kind of the hot take, and why I think the plot doesn't matter so much on the show, is because I actually compare this show's going up against Obi-Wan in on Disney Plus, and funny enough, I think there's a lot of parallels between this and Obi-Wan. One, I think there's like one person that like holds up the entire show, and either lead. Both Kamala and Obi-Wan are really what's holding up like the show, because some of the other supportings aren't as great, but they're still good. In the case of Obi-Wan, the plot is, I mean, say what you will, but I think it's not very good. It's not a great Star Wars story at the end of the day, but it has great moments. And what it does is that it does something visual that we've not seen in a while. It's breaking from shooting a show like George Lucas, which is what The Mandalorian very much tried to do, to shooting a show in a very new way. We're getting all sorts of different angles, really interesting shots. That saber fight between Obi-Wan and Darth Vader. Everybody was probably going nuts about Darth Vader, but to me, it's just like the actual visual, like the angles it was shot from, is totally new to Star Wars, and that's like all the credit in the world to Deborah Chow for that. So coming back to Miss Marvel, it's the same thing. I feel the aesthetic of the show is more playful. It's less serious. Marvel sometimes try to be a little too serious and too grounded, and like everything has to be like felt like a real world. And this show, I think, does a great job of like taking us out of that and putting us into a world of like it just sounds. It's a bit more magic. It's a bit more playful. And once again, it's breaking the mold of something else that has been the outline for Marvel. Marvel doesn't do big on colors. I've said that a bunch of times in the podcast. I think this show does great on colors because it has to. Because if not, it wouldn't be an authentic Pakistani story, right? So all that stuff just really was really great. And the fact they talk about partition, that's something that for us it became a platform for us to talk to our kids about it and how that happened. Just so many great things to say about it. Shame that the public perception hasn't been quite the same. But yeah, that's as usual my 2 cents. And over to you guys.
So at the very start of Miss Marvel, I was fully, completely on board. I loved the first 2 episodes. I thought the actress, who apparently have never done anything before Miss Marvel, was charismatic and fantastic, nailed it from the first episode. I really loved the side characters, the boy who obviously is in love with her and was struggling with him whether to go to Caltech or not, her other friends, part of the religion, and again the struggle between her the different sides of her identity in an American world, in an American city. Again, I loved it. I also I have to give credits to the visual effects team. I loved how you had the text on the wall and all the different emojis coming out. I mean, they were lovely in the trailer, but in the TV show they're even more stunning. I thought they were fantastically implemented. They felt very natural and gave the character a unique, not the character, the TV show a unique identity against all the other Marvel shows. But yeah, the first 2 episodes I absolutely loved. Then the third episode kicked in, and for the next 3, I wasn't quite sold anymore. I think the problem is that Miss Marvel very much feels like a 12-episode series condensed into 6 episodes. Because in the third episode, we're introduced to the auntie, who in the beginning of the episode seems to be very much, oh, I'm on your side, I'm here to help you with your powers, I accept you for who you are. And then just suddenly one click of the finger, one scene, and she's like, nope, all right, we're going to kill her now. It just happened way too quick. And then the next episode, she goes to another country, Pakistan, and she meets the Red Dagger guys, and again it's like, oh, they're introduced and I thought the same, oh, she's going to befriend them and they turn out to be evil. No, they weren't evil at all. Apparently they were actually her friends, and again they were introduced so quickly. Kamala got to know them very quickly and just apparently trusted them with her life, and they're trying to protect her from the bad guys. And then the elder member of the Red Dagger died spoilers, and towards the latter half of the episode, and apparently we're meant to have this big emotional reaction. I'm like, no, sorry, TV show, you didn't earn that. I didn't even know him. I'm sure he's a great character in the comics, but I did not feel attached to him at all. And again, just way too rushed. And then the whole arc with her mother, again, I see what they were going for. The Kamal's mother was very restrictive. Only had her didn't want her daughter to do anything else outside of the box that she put her in. And throughout the whole course of the episode, she learned that she's obviously a superhero and accepted who she was. But again, the character art just went by too quick. If you look at the characters side by side in episode 1 and episode 6, they're completely 180. Does not feel natural at all. But the last episode, I thought it did recover quite nicely. Again, I felt there were a few moments that didn't really work because it just went by so quickly, and just didn't really build up in the way it should have done. But I did like how the characters came together. I like the plan. They tried to see after the police. I like the little animations again on the chalkboard when they make plans. I like the sort of camaraderie and the family aspect when obviously they're defending Miss Marvel as she's trying to get away from the police, etc. But yes, and then I liked I think in the ending though, I was very confused at how the boy, the one who ended up being the main villain in the end, I was totally confused how he got the powers. It just like his mother closed the rift and apparently he gained powers. I don't understand. I also don't understand how the girl in the beginning who was saved by Miss Marvel suddenly was like, oh, I've known all along. And it's just like, wait, what? It was a lot of whiplash there. Like I said, it really feels like 12 episodes condensed into 6 episodes, which is such a shame because I think having 12 episodes of Miss Marvel would have been a lovely thing. Maybe they could have dropped 2 episodes a week and really get us to know the characters before they rush through all the story. Either way, if anyone listening to this has been sitting on the fence about this, if you love Spider-Man, if you love the Tom Holland movie, especially like the school comedy sort of thing, you would love Miss Marvel. I think it's very shame that apparently it's the lowest viewed of the series so far, because again it's apart from like 1 second at the end, well no I was gonna say very self-contained. No, Moon Knight was very self-contained. This obviously has references to Captain Marvel, but kind of done in a like you could have replaced it with some other superhero. It's very understandable why she loves Captain Marvel. It's not something you have to watch all the movies to figure out why she loves her so much. But yes, I did think Miss Marvel was very good. I wish we had more of it. And I can't wait to see what she does in the Marvels. That's the next movie, right? So it'd be really interesting to see what she does on the big screen or the TV show. And I think her working with the girl in Hawkeye and Spider-Man, I think they're going to make a fantastic team, and can see them, the actors having a blast together on set. Anyway, that's my 2 cents, or should I say like 5 cents, because it's went on for 5 minutes. Anyone else?
Right, so yeah, I'm completely with you there, Sarah, on the fact that these episodes were way too rushed, coming about halfway through into it, particularly episode 5. I just don't understand why it's there. It's just such a random place story plot when Kamala goes back in time to save her gran. What does that add? It doesn't seem to add anything, and like the majority of the story was about the great grandmother and her escaping the villains, and yeah, fine, maybe have that as like 5-minute clip or something, but it just went on a little bit too long, at least in my opinion. But anyway, so some positives from the show. I quite enjoyed it, and you know, the cast was really well done. I thought the actress that played Kamala was great. The actors that played her friends, Nakia, was really good. I really liked her. I thought she was very good. The guy that played Bruno was basically Peter Parker, which is funny enough. The actor called Matt, he actually auditioned to play as the new Spider-Man Peter Parker, but didn't get it. So I'm presuming they put him onto this role because they seem very similar characters. I was a little bit annoyed about his story arc. I really wanted him to turn into a villain. I think he'd be a really good villain for the future at some point. But anyway, the family was so good. I loved the dad, I loved the mom and the brother. I thought they were such a good dynamic. Even the soon-to-be stepsister that was getting married to the brother, I thought she was really good, and just I really quite enjoyed the wedding. I think that was episode 3. I really enjoyed the wedding side of things, because I thought that was a lot of fun. Anything with Bon Jovi, I'm all about. All about a bit of Bon Jovi. But you know, I thought the family dynamic was really, really great. It's just, for me, episode 5 was just so lackluster. Just kind of slowed the whole thing down. It was just very pointless, and the villains were just, I don't know, they were just kind of thrown in there as we need to have some kind of villain in there, some superpowered villain. I'd rather they just took someone from the comics and used them that could potentially be a great supervillain for the future. But yeah, the Jin villain, people from another dimension, they just seemed very, very pointless, and similar to what Sarah said, I don't know how Cameron really got his powers, why he turned villainous. Like, he seemed quite an understanding person at the beginning. That whole plot point was just very strange. The thing I still just couldn't really grasp, though, about the series was Kamala's origin of powers. In the comic books, she is a Inhuman, and now they've changed it that she is a mutant. I don't know how many people heard the X-Men theme, which was quite a bit of a hint, but I like the fact that she goes, oh, it's just another label, which I'm presuming that's going to be how the Marvel Studios will do mutants in the future. It's just, a throwaway thing that they'll just bring in the characters. I don't think they're go heavy on like, I'm a mutant kind of thing like they did in the actual Fox X-Men films. So that's interesting. But again, I kind of liked her being an Inhuman and her powers of being able to stretch, very similar to Mr. Fantastic. I think maybe just a bit limited. I don't really know too much about the character, but yeah, this whole bangle giving her the power, she can do crystals and all that type of stuff. It just doesn't really sit too well for me. I know they're trying to, distinguish her to be something a bit different to, say, Mr. Fantastic, who they clearly introduced quite early on with Doctor Strange 2. So I guess that's the point they were going with that. But yeah, overall, I enjoyed it. It was a fun series. Again, kind of got lost with episode 5. I just didn't feel like that needed. Not that great of a finisher either. The high school scene at the end was very fun. I loved the whole teamwork and stuff like that. Coming off from watching Stranger Things, it actually reminded me a bit of the high school scenes in Stranger Things when they're trying to fend off the Demogorgon and all those type of stuff. So I quite liked that. I thought that was quite fun. But yeah, the cast was good. I enjoyed the cast. The premise was good. They did well with getting the actress for Kamala. She was spot on. And like I say, the family dynamic and everything was spot on as well. Yeah, so those are my thoughts. So interested to hear anyone else's as well.
So the last recording I did was just as I was about to go pick up my son. I had spare 5 minutes and thought I'd record it there and then. So you might have just known that I kind of forgot a couple of characters' names. And I completely forgot about, oh my God, episode 5, James. Thanks for reminding me about the episode where they went back in time. How could I forget that episode? But it was part of the whole 3 episodes I wasn't quite sure of. I think the episode, like as soon as it opened up with Kamala in the past, I knew exactly where they were going. They were going to make her tie up because they were talking about that scene quite a lot in the build-up. So I knew it was very important. And I do glad that we got to see it. I think, especially in the UK, we don't get a lot of media property that kind of like is truthful about how we're kind of shitty to, to indigenous countries. So I was glad we saw it. It's not a kind of a piece of history that we would normally get to see or get told in schools. I think what would have been stronger, though, is if Kamala was just literally a witness to the flashback. Like if she was there because we saw the aunt, didn't we? Like when she had the bangle, then she met the man she loved with and had a child with. What if Kamala was just someone who was just watching it all unfold and realising her history and what she went through, and then the aunt still got her daughter on the train with the bangle and gave the bangle over in the dying moments. And if Kamala saw all that and also saw what her aunt, the evil one, was going through and why she was and how desperate she was, if she then came back to the present and then kind of was like, I see it all, I know what you've gone through, but you're going about it all wrong, I thought that would have been stronger. And again, I see what they were going for with the auntie. Like Kamala's parents were not very accepting of her. They were very much like, you do it our way or no way. And then along comes his auntie and is like, we understand your powers, we've been there, we are actually special and we're going to here to help you. I just think that it was just done way too quick. If they spend another episode or two of the Jinn trying to make Kamala be more on their side and then more of the friction of the family, and then when eventually the turning point where they go to Pakistan, like maybe a few episodes later, that's where Kamala's turning point, realizing that her family are not evil, they're just just have their own way of life, and sometimes they don't know and obviously the mother didn't have the full picture of where the power like they have powers and they're actually a little bit special and they're not all human. I think if they went that route, they took their time with it. Because like I said, there's seeds there, the ingredients are there. It just didn't give enough time to flourish. It was just pulled out the root before it was finished growing, so to speak. But yeah, so, I also, I obviously don't know enough about the Inhumans obviously I've watched the X-Men movies apart from the last 2, I think. The last one I watched was Days of Future Past, and I finally seen Doctor Strange 2. I finally seen it. So fantastic, all the cameos in there. But yeah, so the mutant and inhuman thing, I don't really have any qualms about that. I will admit I completely missed the X-Men opening theme music when they mentioned that, but I completely heard it in Doctor Strange 2, so I don't know why I misheard it in one and completely got it in the other. But I do like how they're introducing it like a little bit at a time. And I think changing it for this context, I mean, for someone who obviously has no real attachment to the comic books, I think it worked fine for me. But we'll have to see how it develops. Obviously, they are trying to build it, the X-Men, introducing them one by one, very slowly, rather than just saying they're all here. Maybe they're going to explain it in a way like, oh, after the snap, mutants started appearing, like have it like that maybe, and then also in the multiverse, like, oh, we've always been here, but in this universe, they only just started appearing since Thanos disappeared, got killed. But yeah, so thanks for a reminder, James. It would be interesting to see the next series, whether they're going to be if this is going to be the new recurring thing of 6 episodes each season, if we're going to have this continuous problem. Because I think that with Moon Knight, it was a case of I would have liked to have one more episode, but I was okay with 6. Whereas Miss Marvel should have had more than 6 episodes. So if we're going to have just 6 episodes from now on, they either need to write them better for 6 episodes or allow them to have more than 6 episodes to allow them to tell the better story. But yes, thanks for reminding me again. Can't believe I got that episode.
So Miss Marvel, lots of things that I agree with you guys, so I'm not going to really rehash stuff. I agree the Clandestines and Red Daggers was rushed, but the show, while there has been a narrative around why it's the least watched, it does have a very, very positive rating from those who actually watch it. So I believe it has a 98% fan rating on Rotten Tomatoes. That's a few days old, and I haven't rechecked because we don't fact check around here. But yeah, there has been lots of positive commentary around the show from people that have watched it. What else do I agree with? Yeah, I didn't really understand Cameron getting his powers from his mother closing the portal or rift or whatever you want to call it. Incursion, maybe? Who knows? And yeah, that stuff was a little bit rushed, but I did enjoy those episodes where they were in Pakistan, explaining some of the backstory as to how they came about and connecting with that side of the family. Anyone who is first generation immigrant can relate to that experience of going back home and both feeling at home and like a complete stranger in the country where you came from. So I enjoyed that episode. Another episode I found interesting was the 5th one, controversially apparently. I did actually quite like that trip into the history and going back through and seeing what actually happened with Kamala's grandmother, because I felt like they had to sort of bridge that gap between what happened with the train, why her aunt was seen in the light that she was seen, why all the other aunties had sort of pushed her to the side and weren't fans of her in the way that they were everyone else. And I think it sort of legitimized her story and in turn brought the family together, as we saw. I thought it was interesting that Sarah felt it needed more episodes to develop as an origin story, because normally the films are only like a couple of hours. I think I guess they tried to do more than they tried to do with the films. Like there's a lot more content here in the first season of Miss Marvel than there was in the Captain Marvel film, for example. And I guess because they tried to do more and tried to squeeze more in, it then felt like they needed more time to do it. Maybe they could have extended the episodes rather than extending the series, because each episode was pretty much 45 minutes from what I remember. Whereas with some of their other shows, they have extended some episodes out a little further than that. But overall, I was satisfied. Lots to like. I found it funny that Cameron was passed off as a fake cousin, because again, if you're ethnic minority, or again, first generation immigrant, you're used to having a bunch of fake cousins and fake family around. That's why her brother was just like, yeah, sure. I've even had that happen with real family. And just, yeah, you just go with it, right? Someone tells you you're related to someone, you just go, yeah, I guess I must be. What else did I like? In the last episode in particular, I thought the Abraham Lincoln quote was excellent. The fact that is he an imam? I guess the imam at the mosque quoted Abraham Lincoln to the woman running the Catch Heroes organization, Kitty Shield, I'll call it, and her assuming that it was some other ethnic minority or Muslim. I can't remember exactly what she says, but when he says it's Abraham Lincoln, actually, I thought it was great because often you don't actually know as much of your own culture when you grow up in it. You know what you're taught at school, or you know what your parents might have told you, but it's only when you come in as an outsider that you really have to learn these things. And one of the interesting things I did in this past school year was an immigrant test, and I got my students to do an immigrant test as well. And they are really hard because they ask you a bunch of things that you don't care about as an actual citizen of the country, but they make people that are coming to the country learn about to show that they care about the culture of the country that they're coming to. So I thought that was really smart. I thought it was a little bit iffy that once the family found out about the secret, that they were all happy and fine about it. Like, I get if they figured it out beforehand, that would be different. But yeah, I don't know. It seemed weird to me. That seemed to kind of fly in the face of what you would expect within the culture. But then I guess maybe this is them in an attempt to modernize or show that actually the family is more modern than you think they are. And you could argue that was mirrored in episode 1 when the dad agrees to go with her to the, what was it, the con that they went to, the conference that they went to in the first episode. And he even dressed up as Hulk. Like, that was actually a really big thing. You would never expect that to happen. Ever, 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 ever. Even less likely to happen is her being allowed to go out at the end of the show and go and sit on the lamppost. I know that's an iconic image, but I'm pretty sure it was past her bedtime. The X-Men theme was amazing. But I too, like Sarah, wish she kind of stayed in Human. Unlike Sarah, I am fully into the Inhumans and love the whole idea of Terrigenesis and having a race of people that get to a certain age and then sort of roll the dice on becoming a hero, villain, or just staying a regular person. Like the whole setup and concept of the Inhumans has always been really interesting to me. The TV show just happened to be really bad, even though I watched all of it, which is a shame. But like it's been said by James, I think they'll do a different approach with the X-Men. With mutants specifically, not with X-Men. And maybe not go down the whole sort of xenophobia storyline that the first X-Men film went down. What else? I think that's mostly it. The last thing I wanted to say was just, I don't know if anyone noticed in the credit scene. I guess I'm not going to spoil the credit scene, but in the credit scene, there was a poster amongst all the Captain Marvel posters of a black woman, and it said "My Body, My Choice," which I thought was a really nice touch for the current times. And I think that's it. Put it out, Tom.
So I just wanted to go back on a couple of things that JC talked about. First one is really the reasons why Miss Marvel got bad reviews on certain websites, online and on YouTube, mainly because of the religious background of the main character, mainly because of her and her family being immigrants, because of, again, religion, race, and all of that stuff. I really think this is, for the lack of a better term, kind of lame that we're still with this type of reactions. We're still getting these sorts of reactions, this sort of rejection from the audience, where we're literally talking about, mutants and people with superheroes. Like, this transcends sort of, in a way, where you come from in your background, right? You're there, whoever you are, you're there with your superpowers, you're there to protect people, you're there to transcend where you come from and where you're going. And I think it's kind of very sad that we're still stuck with this sort of reactions. So people have to do better. But then, if that was your reaction, well, I hope you stuck around to the end of it and you went and carried on watching, maybe in the spirit of broadening your horizon and maybe be a little bit open-minded. So if you stuck to the end with it and your initial reaction was, meh, what's this? I can't relate. Well done if you have. Anyway, what did I think about this? Well, there's a lot of, I don't know. There's a bit of it's a bit of a mixed bag. So on the one hand, the things I love were the editing, the artistic style, the like Sarah said, the graphics, the way they animated certain words on walls, and the way you would see Kamala'S thoughts and ideas being projected as a painting, as an animation on a wall, on a piece of paper, on the fridge, and so on and so forth. It was quite cool to see that. I also really liked the vibe of the entire show. Again, as was mentioned before, if you like Spider-Man Homecoming, if you like that type of kind of, again, the vibe of going to high school, going to college, going to university, this is for you. I sat there watching this, kind of casting my mind back to the days where I was watching Buffy the Vampire. These were high school days for me, college days for me, where I was like, oh my god, this is so cool, somebody who's my age doing all this crazy stuff, fighting vampires and so. Well, this was the same thing that I was like, okay, cool, let me transport back to that sort of era for me. And I totally enjoyed it. Like, once I didn't come into it thinking that this was a, I've got to go like Moon Knight, where, okay, this is very much a grown man doing his thing. I had to get myself into that teenage kid mindset. And once I got there, I was like, yeah, totally awesome. What else did I love? I'm trying to think. I like the powers. I like the fact that actually it was talked about by James and Sarah, the fact that she's a mutant. Slowly, Marvel is now introducing us to the X-Men and all that lovely world, and I can't wait to see what they do with it. Can't be as bad as what Fox did with it. So certainly there's a lot to look forward if you're an X-Men fan. But yeah, overall I like the story. Now let's go to the things I didn't really appreciate. So I think the 6-episode format's gotta go, or it's gotta be looked at in terms of pacing and in terms of how you tell a story, because it feels like either the episode goes super fast but there's not much going on, which is a very weird thing to say, or there's a very slow episode with things that could have been done better. So I think the pacing could have worked out differently. Again, the infamous episode 5 where we go back in time, totally agree with Sarah that it should have been looked at. Or was it James? No, I think it was Sarah who said maybe they should have done it with Kamala just looking into what happened to her grandma or her family in the past. Very interesting that they had Kamala saving her grandma. I thought that was an interesting take. But yeah, I pretty much spent episode 5 wishing we could skip to episode 6. So yeah, the whole 6 episode thing is gotta go. It's either they go with a 7th episode and they're trying to make episodes that are even. So I don't know. It really feels like this isn't really working right now, the 6 parts thing. Also, they need to start releasing the entire series at once. I have enough of waiting. The whole weekly format just starts to piss me off now. I had enough waiting for things like, do like Stranger Things, do like Netflix, just release everything all at once. I know you're trying to create, and by you I mean Disney, you're trying to create this event like release party where every week we get a new episode, everybody's talking about it, sure, but as a consumer and as somebody who wants to go my own pace, again we're talking about pacing, like I want to go my own pace. If I want to watch 2 episodes tonight, why can't I? Why do I have to wait next week? This isn't traditional TV anymore. This is what was appreciated when the likes of Netflix came around, and this is what I think we should go back to. Going back then to the actual story of Miss Marvel, I thought the enemies of the baddies were really really average. We talked about it before, the guys have touched upon that. I thought they could have been a better job done with it. And then the last thing, I think to me, I thought could have been done a little bit better was... No, actually, no, you know what? That's it. That was the bad guys. I'll take it back. That was it, the bad guys. There's nothing else I didn't like. So yeah, I really hope... And it's actually going back. Oh my god, I'm all over the place. I want to go back to what JC said at the start of this episode, which is, this is an origin story, and it's not a massive thing with the huge stake. We've got things that are depending so much on this. I think this is nice that we see the origin story. There's not much going on, and which is actually weird because that's why the enemies, the baddies, are not that good. It's because that's not the point of this series at all. This series is to introduce you to Kamala and Miss Marvel, who she is, where she come from, where the whole family came from, what she's about, and get you to the Marvel movie, which comes out next year, and got me. It worked. It got me excited for that, and that's all it's about. That's all it's about. Just introducing a character. No need to make a big thing about it. Just go with it. Here's the movie that's coming out. That's what it's going to be about. This is what you should be expecting with her. One last thing is, actually you didn't know much about the whole India versus Pakistan history, the partition thing. Like, this is not something I was very familiar about, so it is quite an interesting, for me, introduction to that part of history. So I'm quite glad I watched that. I'm quite glad I got introduced to it, and I actually did a little bit more reading about it, and it's very interesting. I didn't know much about it, so if there's a positive about this, you do learn about history in general. Anyway, I think this is it. This was the Miss Marvel WhatsApp edition. Thanks for listening. Please do give us a like, subscribe, give us 5-star review if you wish to do so. Again, we'll catch you in the next one. Thank you very much. Goodbye.